We're here today to honor Tony Rini, who's being inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. We're going to take some time and speak to some people who have made this journey with him along the way. Get ready for some great stories.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Brocato, presently the Clerk of Scales at Thistledown. I've known Tony Rini for about 40 years. About 1975, we had one of the best sprinters on the grounds, and my father decided to run him 7.5 furlongs, which was a pretty arduous task for that horse. Tony came out in the paddock, asked my father how he thought he was going to get him around there. My father said, do what you can, it's in your hands. Ultimately, the horse won and beat one of the nicer horses on the grounds. When he came back, I asked him, I said, Tony, how did you rate this horse? How did you get him to settle down? He said at about the 3/8 pole he was getting away from me, so I decided to sing to him and take his mind off racing. And that's what we did. About 2 months later, we took the horse to Aqueduct, ran him up there for about $25,000. Ronnie Turcotte rode the horse. And I told Ronnie, I said, the only way you can settle this horse is to sing to him, going down the backside. Ronnie kind of laughed and said, yeah, I ride the best in the world. We'll see what we can do. The horse ultimately won. When he came back, Ronnie looked down at me and he said, when you see Tony, tell him he was right.
My name's Edward M. Blind, and I'm the identifier at Thistledowns now, but in the early 70s when I first met Tony, I was an assistant starter working on the starting gate. Came in one morning and Tony Rini was as mad as all get out at me. It seems the last race the night before, Tony had gone down leaving the gate, and as I was leaving the gate to get the cord and the phone, I ran right over the top of him, never saw him. Got to the phone, got to the cord, got to my car, got home. Got there the next morning and Tony was one mad son of a gun. He says, how in the world could you not see me laying there? I said, Tony, you must have been wearing brown silks. It was a very sloppy track.
Hi, I'm Lee Hanks. I'm an ex-rider, now Thistledowns valet. I've known Tony since back in the 60s. Tony did like to eat, and anytime he were in the jocks room, if I got something to eat, he'd come over for a bite. And every day at Ascot, he'd come in the jocks room and grab a box of Cracker Jacks and have his Cracker Jacks. So one day I found a little garden snake in the yard, and I went in the jocks room and I cut the Cracker Jacks box open and put the little snake in it. And he come in and naturally he opened his Cracker Jacks box, poured the snake on his face, run over the ping pong table and broke his finger. Me and Tony palled around, like I said, we skied and the wives and everything together. Since back in the 60s, we've been friends for quite a while, and he's a good guy.
My name is Joe McCullar. I rode with Tony. My first time I ever rode with him was at Ascot Park. And first day I ever saw him, he was up in the jocks room. And they were having, all the other jocks were having fun with him. He was sleeping and they gave him a hot foot. And he said, okay guys. And he won 4 that day. And that's the first time I ever met him. Thank you.
My name's Richard Hurley. We're going to talk about Tony Rini here. I rode with him when he was a rider, and he was a very, very good rider. And he's one of the first people in Ohio that used to switch his stick from his right hand to his left hand. And he was very good at that. And then he took up golf, and he wasn't very good till he got in an accident and hurt his arm, and now he's a lot better golf with one arm than he is with 2.
There was another time in the early 70s when Rini wasn't mad at me. And that was the day that we were loading the horses in the gate at the 3/4 pole at Thistledowns when lightning struck the Turfside Motel directly across the street. When the lightning hit the motel, the starter came out of the stand because his hair was on fire. Buddy Cunningham, the starter at the time, everything below his hat was burnt off. Rini, we looked around, was gone. He leapt off the horse and was halfway back to the track kitchen by the time we started getting the rest of the horses out of the gate and settled down. All we heard was one big boom and a crash, and Rini was out of there.
Hi, Director Racing Bill Couch. I'm going to give you a little story about Tony in the 70s when I was training horses, and he had a few horses in our barn that he liked to ride, and particularly this one filly named Violets or Blue. This filly come from New York. We had bought her in a sale. Eddie Phillips actually was the owner, Nanny were the owners of the horses, and this filly was in one day, and Tony come to the paddock, and she looked on paper like she was going to be pretty tough in the race, and Tony looked, and I told him, "What do you think, Tony?" He says, "Well, she ought to run pretty good." I says, "Pretty good? What does that mean?" I said, "Well, you don't have any more confidence than that?" He said, "Well, yeah." He says, "She'll be okay." So I went to go give him a leg up, and I went and I grabbed my wrist, and I says, "Tony." He said, "Yeah." And as he was walking out, I says, "Did you eat a little too much pasta last night or whatever?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Man, I thought my wrist was broke." "Don't worry about it." He says, "I'll meet you in the winner's circle." Well, she did win the race, no problems whatsoever. And come back, and he said, I told you, no problem, she'd win." I said, "Yeah, I wish you'd give me a little more confidence before." He said, "Well, I told you when I was leaving." I said, "But I didn't want to say it too loud." I said, "Well, you said it loud enough, she was even money."
Hi, my name is Jay Magrell. I've known Tony Rini for years. He's a great person. I used to gallop for him, and I kept hustling to ride some for him. And years ago, I didn't really want to ride females. I think that was an old school thing because females didn't ride a lot. But I kept bugging him, and he finally put me on one, and I win, of course. So it was kind of a good thing. So we really developed a good relationship. And over the years, he's softened up, and he'll ask me every day, "How'd you do yesterday?" And he knew I'd win, and he'd always say, "Congratulate me." So he's a great person and very experienced as a trainer, a rider, and many other things in his aspect of this business.
And I'd just like to thank Tony Rini and congratulate him on being inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. Accomplishment well deserved. Congratulations, Tony.
Hi, my name is Robin Schuster. I'm a trainer here at Thistledown. I'm also a vice president of the HPPA, and I'd just like to say congratulations to Tony Rini. And I've known him for many years, and I just want to see him continue to do good and let him know that you are my hero, and congratulations.
Hi, Tony. This is Nancy. I want to congratulate you for winning the HBPA Lifetime Achievement Award and also for being inducted in the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. You've transitioned from a great jockey who won the Ohio Derby to a fabulous trainer. The racing industry is proud of you. Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate Tony for being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and he deserves it.
Hi, I'm Mark Widowski. On behalf of everyone with SportView Technologies here at Thistledown Racetrack, I would like to send our congratulations to Anthony Rini for being inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sportsman Hall of Fame, and also for his Lifetime Achievement Award given to him by the racing industry.
Tony Rini, I want to congratulate you for getting into the Hall of Fame. You deserve it.
Well, congratulations, Tony Rini, on being inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. And boy, do you sure earn it. A kid that grew up just a couple furlongs from the West Side Market, went to St. Malachy's, and boy, I'll tell you, Tony, I was a St. Wenlands boy, and we were right around the corner for each other, so it's a treat for me to wish you the greatest on one of the best things that's ever come out of Cleveland. I know you're going to get into the Sports Hall of Fame as a jockey, but trainer, golfer, and all-around nice guy. Lots of accolades for you, Tony. Congratulations on going into the Hall of Fame. You've made the west side of Cleveland proud. You've made Thistledown proud, and you've made me proud just to know you. Tony Rini, congratulations on being inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame.
Carol Germany here at Thistledown. Just want to take a minute and say congratulations to my friend Tony Rini. Tony, I am so proud of you for being inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame and for receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award more recently. You're definitely an asset to this industry, and I am so happy to have known you throughout these years, and I look forward to many more years of success for you. Thank you so much for all that you do for us, and again, congratulations.
Hi, this is Lee Dillard, General Manager here at Thistledown, and I just want to extend a huge congratulations to Tony Rini on being selected as part of the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame induction, and say that the industry has been a better place because of all your results. and wish all the best to you in your upcoming. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
Hi, I'm Annie, and I'd like to say congratulations, Tony, for your recent accomplishments, for getting into the Ohio Sports Hall of Fame and receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award. We all can agree, Tony, you have all of the elements needed to receive these awards. You have strength, you have dedication, heart, talent, you have tenacity. You've worked hard your whole life. We all know you're an asset to the horse racing community. We all agree that you deserve this award for all the years of hard work and dedication and all that you've put into the thoroughbred horse racing industry. Congratulations.
Former jockey and Cleveland native Anthony Rini, now a trainer based at Thistledown, is among 8 sports figures to be inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame in September. Rini's interest in racing began during childhood visits to the home of his aunt, who lived across from Berea Fairgrounds in Berea, Ohio. In 1957, at age 17, he began working as a hot walker and a groom, first at Ascot Park and then at Thistledown. He soon began galloping horses, and after 2 years on the backside, he took out his jockey's license. Rini, 71, collected more than 2,500 wins in his 23-year career in the irons, beginning with his first in 1959 aboard Date Me at Thistledown. Among other memorable wins are the 1972 Illinois Derby with Fame and Power and the 1973 Ohio Derby with Our Native. He once won 5 races in one day at Arlington Park and continued performing with the same consistency right here at Thistledown. Rini twice rode in the Kentucky Derby, aboard Junior's Arrowhead in 1971 and aboard Chief of Dixieland in 1978. From 1966 through 1970, he earned 9 meet titles at Thistledown, racing throughout the Midwest and in Florida, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Pennsylvania. Rini to date has saddled 466 winners from over 2,900 starters, earning purses of nearly $4 million.